and welcome to the daily newspaper analysis, which is brought to you by LawSikho. So today we will be covering the newspaper analysis and the editorials and legal updates for yesterday, that was 11th of January, and today that is 12th of January. And so sorry that we could not have the newspaper analysis yesterday because of the bad health of the slides curator. But today we have brought forward it entirely to you. So let's see, what do we have for today as a discussion? Firstly, we have an editorial from the Indian Express, which has been taken from the which has been taken up, and the title of this article is Delegated Legislation. So as we know, when it comes to the Constitution and the administrative law, delegated legislation is an important concept. So we'll understand it as to why are we discussing it now. Secondly, we have the news update and legal news for the day. So this article talks about delegated legislation. It says that while upholding the 2016 decision of the central government of demonetization, which we all clearly remember, when the older notes of 500 and 1000 and all were completely demonetized and we had the new currency in hands. So one of the key issues that arose was whether the parliament had given excessive power to the center in demonetizing currency. Now, when this power that we are talking about being given by the parliament to the central government is actually a question of delegated legislation. Delegated legislation here includes Parliament delegating certain authorities established by lawmakers themselves to the center. What happens is that for the effective proper motivation and for the proper working of a particular law, many a times it becomes important that the laws or the working is legislated. That is, it is first it is legislated and then next it is delegated to the acquired, to the complete or the right kind of the authority. Now, this entire process is called as delegated legislation. But when we try to understand that what exactly or how delegated legislation would work, we also need to understand that how much of this power of legislation or how much control to act upon such legislation is delegated by the concerned authority to the given authority. So, the delegated legislation would specify operational details, giving power to those executing the details as to how are we going to operate, in what areas are we going to operate, and basically what will be the modus operandi for a particular task. Regulations and bylaws under legislations are classic examples of delegated legislations because many a times the parliament makes the laws, and these bylaws, these regulations by the offices, the official authorities or the areas where such laws are delegated to, they make these bylaws and other smaller prospects which actually make it practically possible for the entire legislation to be functional in the real character. Now, the 1973 Supreme Court ruling states that the practice of empowering the executive to make subordinate legislation within a prescribed sphere has evolved out of practical necessity and pragmatic needs of a modern welfare society. Like, of course, we should understand that many a times, keeping the situations in mind or the society that needs to be governed with a particular law, this kind of power or this discretion, basically what here we are talking about as the delegated legislation, must be given to these authorities to make sure that the right spirit and the purpose of law has been satisfied. And that is why it is a practical necessity of the day. Section 26 Clause 2 of the Reserve Bank of India Act. Now, why are we considering the RBI Act here? Because, of course, the RBI was the one that had demonetized, means the government using the RBI mechanism had demonetized the currency. So, Section 26 Clause 2 of the RBI Act 1934 essentially gives power to the center to notify that a particular denomination of currency ceases to be a legal tender. Now, as we know that the central bank in India that we have is the Reserve Bank of India. And here, by the virtue of Section 26 Clause 2 of the RBI Act, it delegates this power to the center to basically declare that a particular denomination, that a particular money rupee of currency ceases to be a legal tender. For example, after the demonetization, the 1000 rupees notes were declared to be a denomination that would not be used any further. And instead of that, 2000 rupees notes were introduced. The center exercised that power by issuing a gazette notification, which is essentially the legislative basis for the demonetization exercise. So how about it was done? The RBI used Section 26 Clause 2 to delegate this power to the center, and center, through its official gazette notification, declared the above mentioned declaration. The challenge was whether the provision entails excessive delegation of powers to the center or not. In this case, the petitioners in the demonetization case argued that since Section 26 Clause 2 contains no policy guidelines on how the center can exercise its power, it is arbitrary and therefore unconstitutional. So basically, it can be said that a limitless power of delegation was given, and that is why the actions taken by the central government were kind of arbitrary, and thus they should be pulled back or maybe reconsidered in this demand. Now, a 1959 landmark ruling in the Hamdard Dawakana versus Union of India. We know about this case. We all have learned this case in the contract law, and it was a landmark judgment wherein the Supreme Court had struck down the delegation of powers on the grounds that it was vague. A constitution bench then took into consideration the validity of certain provisions of the Drug and Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisements Act that prohibited advertisements of certain drugs for treatment of certain diseases and dealt with the powers of search, seizure, and entry. Basically, we all know about the Hamdard Dawakana case, where it said that if at all there is any advertisement of a particular drug or particular medicine that claims to treat something magically, so such advertisements are vague and definitely they are, misguiding for the public and the consumers, and that is why they should not be allowed. Let's see what do we have for news updates today. Firstly, Indian American in NASA is the chief technologist. So US Space Agency NASA has appointed Indian American aerospace expert A.C. Charania as its new chief technologist. So Charania will serve as the principal advisor to Administrator Bill Nelson on technology policy and programs. The chief technologist will align NASA's agency-wide technology investments with mission needs across 6 mission directorates and oversee technology collaboration with other federal agencies, the private sector, and the external stakeholders as well. Secondly, rather a big news for all of us, we have now the first female Sikh Judge of United States of America. So Indian origin Manpreet Monica Singh has been sworn in as a Harris County judge, becoming the first female Sikh judge in the US. She was sworn in as a judge of the Harris County Civil Court at Law Number 4 in Texas. A trial lawyer for 20 years, she has been involved in numerous civil rights organizations at the local, state, as well as national levels. Thirdly, Gabon names vice president and new prime minister. So Gabon's president, Ali Bongo, appointed the country's first female prime minister, Rose Christian Osuka Raponda, to the role of vice president and named a new prime minister to replace her, his secretary general said. So Osuka Raponda, who's 59 years old, was appointed in July 2020 after her predecessor stepped down. She was the defense minister before that, and she had to navigate a delicate political scene as prime minister after a coup attempt in 2019, while Bongo was on prolonged medical leave following a stroke. Here is a tip for you all. Whenever you see this word C-O-U-P, so we generally pronounce this as coup, like the military coup or some kind of coup, but please consider that this is pronounced as coup. In this, the letter P remains silent and thus the sound comes of coup. Fourthly, chairman of BCCI selection committee. So weeks after the selection committee he headed was sacked, the Board of Control for Cricket in India reappointed former India pacer Chetan Sharma as the chairman of the 5-member panel. Shiv Sundar Das, Salil Ankola, Subrata Banerjee, and S. Sharath are the other members of the committee, which has collectively played 47 tests and 95 ODIs. Fifthly, Prime Minister launches Aspirational Block Programme. So Prime Minister launched the government's Aspirational Block Programme, which is aimed at improving performance of blocks lagging on various development parameters. The ABP has was launched, that is basically the Aspirational Block Programme, ABP, was launched during the second National Conference of Chief Secretaries. Sixthly, Kashmir's first Jnanpith awardee passes away. So Rahi breathed his last at his Srinagar residence early in the morning. He is survived by 4 children. Born on May 6, 1925, Rahi wrote several collections of poems and translated the works of some of the celebrated poets in other languages into Kashmiri. He received the highest literary honor of the country, Jnanpith Award, in 2007 for his collection Siya Rood Jare Mums. So that is in black drizzle. Seventhly, World Hindi Day. So the theme for this year for World Hindi Conference is Hindi Traditional Knowledge to Artificial Intelligence. World Hindi Day is celebrated on January 10th every year to promote awareness about the language across the world. It is also the day when Hindi, India's national language, was spoken for the first time in the United Nations General Assembly. It was on this day in 1975 that the first World Hindi Conference was held in Nagpur, and since then such conferences are organized in different parts of the world every year. Eighthly, Natu Natu won the Golden Globe. So Indian film RRR super hit song Natu Natu has won the prestigious Golden Globe Award for Best Original Song. The history creating the track from the director S.S. Rajamouli's blockbuster movie is composed by M.M. Kiravani. The singers are Kala Bhairava and Rahul Sipliganj. Natu Natu, which became an anthem of sorts in the Rajamouli fans, is a dance number featuring Junior NTR and Ramcharan. It created ripples for its elaborate choreography and musical storytelling. Let me know in the comment section below, guys, that how many of you have heard this song and how many of you are fan of this song, because honestly, I have not heard this song till now, but definitely after the session, I'll be also listening to this song. So let me know if you have heard this song or not. Ninthly, Delhi, most polluted city of the country in 2022, of course, a sad thing for all of us. But yes, it quite much has maintained its, status even after quite considerable efforts. So Delhi continued to be the top polluted city in the country in 2022, with an annual average of PM 2.5 concentration, that is particulate matter 2.5 concentration, which is one of the air pollutants, 99.7 microorganisms per cubic meter of air, much above the Central Pollution Control Board standards. 10thly, government extends RBI Deputy Governor Michael Patra's tenure. So the government has reappointed Michael Patra as Deputy Governor, Reserve Bank of India, for an additional period of 1 year with effect from January 15th, 2023, the central bank said. The Appointments Committee of the Cabinet, headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, approved the reappointment of Patra. 11th, Virat Kohli equals Tendulkar's record. So big day for the fans of Virat Kohli. Former captain of the Indian cricket team, Virat Kohli equaled Master Blaster Sachin Tendulkar's record of slamming 21 international centuries on the home soil. He scored 113 runs off 87 balls. He took only 99 innings to score his 20th ODI 100 on home soil, while Sachin did so in 160 innings. Now, with the latest ton, Kohli now has 73 centuries to his credit across all formats. Second only to Tendulkar's 100 centuries. Kohli has so far scored 45 ODI centuries, 27 test tons, and 1 T20 100. Secondly, 12thly, Joshimath declared as landslide-subsidence zone. So Joshimath in Uttarakhand was declared as a landslide and subsidence hit zone by the authorities. The development comes almost a week after the cracks started appearing in many roads and houses of Joshimath. The decision to declare it as a landslide and subsidence hit zone was reached during the high-level meeting which took place among the top officials of the central government, the state government officials, and the officers from agencies like the National Disaster Management Authority, Geological Survey of India, and the National Institute of Hydrology. 13th, Digital India Awards 2022. So ENAM, a flagship initiative of Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. That is basically, these are all the agriculture marketplaces for the farmers, has won the Platinum Award in the Digital Empowerment of Citizens category in Digital India Award 2022 held in New Delhi. ENAM is a digital platform integrating 1260 APMCs. Basically, these are the agriculture produce market committees, mandis across the 22 states and 3 union territories to facilitate online trading of 203 agriculture and horticulture commodities. On the 14th number, we have National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. So National Human Trafficking Awareness Day was there yesterday, that was 11th of January. That brings attention to a crime that leaves a lasting toll on human life, families, and communities around the world. Beginning in 2010 by presidential proclamation, each January has been designated National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Following the start of National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month, with the help of non-governmental organizations, National Human Trafficking Day began and is observed annually on January 11th. Here is a question for you all, that we have a specific fundamental right that makes sure that the humans are not exploited and that the human trafficking can be curbed. Can you tell me which exactly is this fundamental right? If you know the answer, let me know in the comment section below. On the 15th and last for the news updates, we have National Youth Day, that is today. So celebrated every year on 12th January on the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. He was the founder of Ramakrishna Mission in 1897 and was an important figure for the youth awakening during the Indian Renaissance. Let's see what do we have for legal updates today. Firstly, court has no right to review order passed under Section 11 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. So the Delhi High Court in the case of Messrs. Diamond Entertainment and Technologies Private Limited versus Religare Finvest Limited held and reiterated that the orders that are passed in application of Section 11 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996 cannot be reviewed since there is no provision of review contained under the Act. Secondly, Yes. Secondly, constitutionality of Section 6A of the Citizenship Act to be decided by the Supreme Court. So in the case of Assam Sun Militia Mahasangh versus Union of India and others, a constitutional bench of the Supreme Court framed the preliminary issue in the matter concerning the constitutional validity of Section 6A of the Citizenship Act, inserted by way of an amendment in 1985 in furtherance of the Assam Accord. Thirdly, starting point of limitation under Section 34, Clause 3 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act in cases of suo motu correction, says the Supreme Court. So in the case of USS Alliance versus State of UP, the Supreme Court has observed that the starting point of limitation under Section 34, Clause 3 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act in case of suo motu correction of the award would be the date on which the correction was made and the corrected award was received by the party. This was all for today. Thank you so much for staying tuned with LawSikho. I hope you liked the session. If you did, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you wish to download the PDF of today's slides, you can join our Telegram channel. The link is there in the description box below, or you can also scan this QR code. Thank you so much.